Hello and welcome to the CSN3M podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Wade with Case Specific Nutrition. On this channel, we focus on mentoring, mindsets, and myth busting, all as they pertain to health and nutrition. Today's topic falls into the category of myth bust. We are going to be discussing fruit and fruit sugar. All I can say is that in the 6 years that I have been the owner of Case Specific Nutrition, counseling people on a weekly basis, the phrase, one of the following, which is, I don't want to eat the fruit because it has too much sugar in it, or I don't want to eat bananas because they have too much sugar in them, or I don't want to eat X fruit, doesn't it have a lot of sugar, ? Exclamation point. ? Those three things come up on at least a weekly, but more often multiple times a week basis. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time today setting the record straight and also somewhat blaming the internet for our misunderstanding of what's going on. So this confusion is most easily summarized by if you Google banana weight loss, just the word banana and then the phrase weight loss into Google. And at last check, if you scrolled through, you noticed of the first 10 sites, some of them said weight loss miracle, and some of them say weight loss disaster or guaranteed weight gain. And it's absolutely incredible that we've become so polarizing in such a simple concept and topic. And it's, again, largely a result of a complete misunderstanding. So something that's worth noting, fruit does contain sugar. All fruit contains sugar of some kind, at least traditional fruits that we normally think of, because technically an avocado is a fruit, but we don't need to go there with that. But so for our traditional fruits, sugar is absolutely present, as is fiber, mostly soluble fiber, which helps with our digestion and helps regulate our bowels. And of that sugar, a portion of it is fructose and a portion of it is glucose. Glucose is the basic sugar that our body uses. It's what our cells use. It's what our brain uses. But what's worth noting is you could compare that to a pixie stick, which is just pure glucose, right? Pure sugar. And the amount of time it takes for a pixie stick to go from your tongue to your bloodstream is about 5 minutes. The time it takes for your average piece of fruit to fully get into your bloodstream is between 45 minutes and an hour. And that's because of the fiber. That's because it has to digest. It's because of the process. In the world that we currently live in with high fructose corn syrup and heavily refined syrups and all sorts of things like that, which are added sugars, fruit is sort of getting lumped into that, which is very, very untrue and unfair. Fructose as a sugar type, which again, all fruits do contain some fructose. Fructose is a little harder for our body to digest. It goes into the liver first, and then it gets turned into glucose through a process that I won't bore you with the details on. And then it enters our bloodstream. That is part of the other reason why fruit sugar takes a little bit longer to fully hit the bloodstream is we have fiber, we have fructose, and then we have the glucose. Fructose in high levels, high saturation of fructose can be very bad. That is why high fructose corn syrup and sodas and even Gatorade, which now no longer uses high fructose corn syrup, a lot of those items have been associated with correlation to fatty liver. And that's because sugar-sweetened beverages, when we're loading up, we're drinking 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, even 100 grams of sugar in a sitting. And the body's getting that immediately. It's overwhelming the liver. The liver can't process it, so it ends up storing it as fat in the liver, which can destroy and hurt the liver over time. That is a very real problem, and that is part of the reason why we are watching our added sugar, particularly in the U.S. now. There's a lot of motivation to remove and reduce added sugar, but fruit sugar is not added sugar. And one thing I want to point out for people is if you take a cup of fruit, so a cup of banana, a cup of apple, a cup of berries, a cup of watermelon, a cup of grapes, you will notice very quickly that they all have between 14 and 18 grams of carbs. And somewhere in there, we're going to have between 12 and 16 grams of sugar. So per cup, almost all fruit is very, very similar. They all have slightly different fructose content, but the variance amongst them is not very large at all. And that's a really important distinction, because why is it then that some fruits have a great reputation while other fruits have a less than desirable one? And what I'd pose is if you look at a banana, A lot of people buy the huge bananas, which a huge banana is usually 2 cups of fruit. It's 2 servings. So instead of the 15 or 16 grams of carbs, it has 30. So is it that bananas are higher in sugar than other fruits? No, technically an unripe banana is actually lower in sugar because it's more starchy, but it is higher in carbohydrate per portion, meaning what we think of as a portion instead of per serving. Per serving, it's no different. Watermelon is the same thing. Watermelon is known for being high in sugar. And is it high in sugar? Yes, it's pretty much sugar and water and a couple of vitamins with a little bit of fiber. But the difference is 1 cup of watermelon, really no different in sugar content than 1 cup of blueberries or 1 cup of grapes. The distinction is who eats a cup of watermelon. When was the last time you saw somebody eat a tennis ball sized amount of watermelon and call that a serving, right? The typical person eats a quarter of a watermelon or a bunch of watermelon. Same thing can be said about cantaloupe and honeydew. Pineapple is often thrown into that equation. So what we can notice is that it's really not that any one fruit has more sugar than another. It's that we eat them differently. And so the biggest thing when it comes to fruit is not avoidance. It's not good or bad. It's not this or that. It's the portion control. So consuming a 1 cup serving of any fruit is going to have some value to your body. It's going to be hydrating. It's going to be energizing. It's going to be de-bloating. It's going to provide you with some fibers, which help with digestion. It's going to give you some nutrients, some vitamins, and some trace minerals. Those are all great things, and there's no one fruit that's exempt from this reality. It's all in how we consume it. And so we don't need to be consuming those naked fruit drinks that could brag about having 7 servings of fruit in them. Guess what? A bottle of it has 70 grams of sugar, and that's why, is because it has 7 servings of fruit in it. If you wanted to use 2 ounces of it as a concentrated, energy boost, sure, but we're always better off consuming the whole fruit in its entirety so we can get the fiber, we can get the chewing process, the mastication is what that is, and actually enjoy the item and get some sort of satisfaction from it. But the most important thing to walk away with is that fruit is not bad. Fruit does contain sugar, but is not added sugar. And pretty much all fruits have the same amount of sugar within a 2 to 3 gram range. The distinction really is how much of it we eat. And so if you keep yourself to a cup or a serving, choose the slightly smaller bananas. I know my wife and I, we don't buy all organic things, but we do buy organic apples because they are a normal sized apple. You can use those to your advantage. And part of the reason fruits like blueberries get a really good reputation, or berries in general, in addition to them having the higher antioxidants, which gives you some extra health advantages, who here eats 5 cups of blueberries? Most people don't, right? Most people eat a berry, a cup of berries or a half cup of berries because they use it as a topping or put it in an oatmeal or put it in a yogurt. Or it's just because blueberries are super expensive and who's going to eat 5 cups of them a day, dropping $20 a day on fruit, for gosh sake. So case in point, enjoy your fruit. Moderation is the key. Fruit smoothies need to be smoothies containing fruit and ideally have some vegetables and a protein source and some other items instead of just being full-on fruit on top of fruit on top of fruit. And keep calm, portion on. Thanks again for listening to this week's podcast. We really do appreciate you taking the time each week to listen to our Mindset Mondays. If you have not already, please subscribe to our channel and share this week's podcast on your favorite social media. And be sure to tag somebody so that you can support us in our Spread the Health campaign. And don't forget to hashtag Spread the Health when you do that. If you want more information about Case Specific Nutrition, you can check us out on all media at Case Specific Nutrition, as well as at our website, casespecificnutrition.com. And we will see you back here next Monday for our next CSN3M Mindset Monday.